Hi everyone, welcome back to Python Introduction course, a practical course on Python basics. We're in chapter 1, Python Introduction. In this video clip, we're going to learn why it is worth it to Python programming language. Why Python? Python keeps growing and being demanded. Python becomes top programming language on GitHub, ranked by count of distinct users, which means a lot of people are using Python for their projects. Also, Python becomes #1 programming language mentioned in data scientist job posting. More than half job posting for data scientists mention Python, which means Python is being demanded more and more in the industry. Using Python, you can do a lot of things. First, you can do data science, including data analysis, machine learning, artificial intelligence, and data visualization. Also, you can do system development, natural language processing. Actually, you can do more. Let me quickly compare Python to other programming languages here: Java, JavaScript, and C++. Python runtime is a little bit slower than other programming languages, but Python has user-friendly, especially beginner-friendly qualities. First, length of code for Python is very short, shorter than the others. Also, Python has a great large community support for AI and machine learning. Also, Python syntax is easy to read, write, just like you read our English language. Considering all these aspects of parameters, Python becomes a great option as the first programming language to learn. By far, we've quickly touched why it is worth it to learn Python programming language. Next, we're going to learn how to set up a Python code environment. Thank you for listening. I'll see you in the next video clip. Bye. Thank you. Hi everyone, welcome back to Python Introduction, a practical course on Python basics. You are in chapter 1.2, setting up Python with Visual Studio Code. In this chapter, we're going to learn how to install Python and set up your coding environment using Visual Studio Code, which is a popular lightweight code editor that works on Windows, macOS, and Linux. First step is to install your Python. First, you need to go to the official website, python.org, and download a version that's newer than Python 3.11, which is recommended. Make sure the version you download is compatible with your operating system. Once it's installed, Python will be available on your computer for writing and running the code. The next step is you need to install the VS Code, Visual Studio Code. Go to the website, code.visualstudio.com, and download the version that matches your operating system, and install the Visual Studio Code just like you download the other apps. So we're using Visual Studio Code here, which is your code editor, because of its great functionality. Think of VS Code like Microsoft Word for coding, much more powerful than something like Notepad. After you install the VS Code, you open the VS Code, you need to install the Python extension. You go to the left sidebar and click the extension icon here, which look like four squares or a block. And in search bar, you type in Python here, and the Python by Microsoft will pop up, and you install it. This extension helps VS Code understand the Python, including listening, autocomplete, or debugging. And after that, you need to set the Python interpreter. You first need to open the command palette using the shortcut Command-Shift-P or Control-Shift-P, depending on the operating system you use, and search for Python select interpreter here. And then you select the Python version you want to use here. And you need to select the one you just downloaded previously, which will be marked as recommended. So let me actually show you how you can do it in the VS Code. First thing, again, you go to the Python website and you download the version that's compatible with your operating system. and you go to the Visual Studio Code, you download the Visual Studio Code that also matches your operating system, Windows, Mac, or Linux. And then you open the Visual Studio Code, right? Which will look like this, which is empty. First thing, you go to the extension, which is in the left bar, click it, and type in Python. And the first one would be Python by Microsoft. You click it and install it. I already installed it, so it says uninstall, but it's installed here by clicking this. And then you need to open the command palette. So using the shortcut, I'm using the Mac, so Command Shift P would for me. So you'll see here Python select interpreter. If you don't see it in the list when you type in, then you just type in the select interpreter. It'll pop up and click it. You'll see the list of Python versions. I also have a lot from different resources. Or you will just select what's recommended and the matches what you just downloaded and click it, and that's it, right? And you set up the environment for writing and running the code, Python code. And the thing I want to tell you is how to set up the folder. So basically, you need to select the folder where you want to save all the Python files for this course or in general for your project, right? So often open the folder here, and I just like to have the sort of path. So user, my name, and source, meta code, and Python 101 is the one I have all the code for this course. And open it, and you will see all the folders and files under this. So here like this, it's fine. If you have the empty folder, you can just create a new file or create a new folder, or you can just copy or just paste the Python files here as well. That's how we install the coding environment using Python and VS Code. Next, after this, we're gonna start very first Python code. We're gonna learn how to print and set up the variable. Thank you so much for joining. I'll see you in the next chapter. Bye. All right. We've learned a lot in this chapter: how to print, how to define the variables, and how to get user inputs, right? So we want to test it out in the Visual Studio Code together. This will be our first ever running Python inside the VS Code, so I will walk you through it. So as I mentioned before in the previous chapter, you need to select the folder you want to save all the Python files together. And then under that folder, you need to right click or use these icons to get the new file, new folder, and other things. First, you can create a new file. Then you can save it whatever name you want, example.py. You need to be careful that you need to end your name with file name with .py here, so that VS Code can understand this file is gonna be Python code, and the whatever that's inside will be treated as a Python code. And you will notice that once you type in .py, then the little icon here will be Python code, Python icon. That means VS Code knows how to treat this Python file. Once you type the enter, this file pops up. Then you can now write a Python code inside it. So for example, since we learned how to print a thing, so print hello word or print J name, for example, and then you can run it using this icon. If you click this one, you can run it or debug it. But let me explain debug later. So run the Python file, which means you're gonna run all the lines inside this file, right? If you run this Python file, then you'll see the result in the bottom part of this VS Code. It was hello world and J are printed here. So if you look at this line just carefully, then we ran this path example, the Python where we're working with, right? So if you want to make changes, another change, let's say hello J, right? And save it. And if you run it again, and it'll run from starting from the beginning, line 1 to 3, right? That's how it works. And actually, we've learned a lot. So I want to try multiple things, how we do basic printing, how we can print more than one thing at once, how we can use input function and also eval function to convert it to numbers. Also, we can use some other optional arguments, sep and end for built-in print function. So to do that, if we print everything at once, all the line will be executed. That is hard to see which one is referring to which, right? So I'm gonna use a debug mode for this explanation. So debug mode is starting with this little dot, which is called the breakpoint. So you set the breakpoint where you wanna stop executing the code. Let's say you set it here, then here, for example, because you might wanna set the breakpoint where the actual code is in. So if you want to set the breakpoint here, the code will be executed until it hits the breakpoint. So the breakpoint is line at 10, right? So the code will be run until before the line 10, which is line 9. And you can set another breakpoint here. Here you have code blocks here. So what I'm trying to do is run each code block and see the results, and then see if the results are aligned with what we expected, and move on to the next code block. To this simpler, and to this, and after this you can run it, and you'll run the rest of it, right? So you're in this one. To run the debug Python file, you can either use this little tab, run and debug, or you can use this one as well. So let me just use this one, which is simpler, to debug Python file. So first code block is a basic printing, but so first one is printing the text J, so it should be out here, J. And this one is the text as well. So 3.4 as text will be printed out here as a number variable, right? And number 2 will be 3.4 without this. So it's just a number. So 7 will be printed out here, right? So let me clean up the output first to make it cleaner. And let's run the debug file. Yeah, and you see J, 3 plus 4, and 7 are printed here. What's good about this debug mode is you can also see the variables that you're using the code. So we're in this line, right? We're in this breakpoint actually before line 10. So you see variable. We use the three variable actually, name, number 2. So if you see here, local 3 variables, name, number 2, J, 3 plus 4, and 7, right? And then you'll see the output here, right? And move on to the next block. We'll run this code block, printing more than one thing, one item at once. So printing 4 plus 7 is 4 plus 7, which is 7. And x is equal to 1, y is equal to 2, z is equal to 3. And first number is number, which was defined before as a variable here, 3.4, which is letters, right? So here, and number 2 is defined as 7 number, so it would be 7, right? And then, as I mentioned in the theory chapter, this chapter explanation, if you print more than one thing at once, Python will automatically put the space between items. So 4 plus 7 is, and space 11, and x equal to space 1, space y equal to space 2, something like that. Let's see how output would look like. So this is continue. So it's image. Let's go to the next breakpoint. Run the code until we hit the next breakpoint. this one, right? So let's check the output. So 4 plus 7 is space 11, y is x is equal 11, space 1, space y is equal space 2, things like that. Also, first number is number, which is letter here. Second number is 7. So you see, we already have space, right? And Python will put another space between items, so you will see 2 space here. Unlike this one has no space, so 1 space between items, so 1 space here. All right, let's move on to the next one. So next breakpoint is here, and we're here. So the code will run starting from the line 15. So we're gonna get one number from user, which is myself. And then I'll put the number here and we're gonna store it number 1. And we're gonna actually use the eval function, which is converting my text input to the number. And number 2 here will take just the input as text, and we don't convert it to eval, right? And we see number 2 is already here, so it'll be overwritten. So it's gonna be updated to the input I put here. And then we're gonna print out those 2 functions using this line. Number 1 times 2, number 1 becomes number because we're using the eval function. And number 2 is not using any eval function. It's gonna be remaining as text. So you see variables 2 for now, right? But it's gonna be changing here. And 2 times some text times 2, I mean, we didn't explain it yet, but it'll print out that number twice. Let's see. Let's do continue. Enter the number 1. Let's say 5. Same number for number 2, 5. Okay. Then now you see number 1 and number 2 are 5, which is number. Number 2 is not number, but text, right? So the final print would be 2 times your number with eval function is 10, while 2 times your number without eval function is 5, 5, right? Let's move on to the next one. So we're gonna use the set operation argument, which is basically how we're gonna separate different items when we print more than one thing at once, right? So default would be putting the space between items, but you can put colon, comma, or nothing. So let's see, let's print it out and see how they look. So default would be putting the space, so 4 plus 7 is, and space 11 space dot, right? And we replace it with colon, comma. So now it's not space and colon and comma. And we can remove space by putting separate by nothing. So you see no space here, right? That is a set operation argument. And also print has an end argument, so you can keep 2 different things in 2 different printing in one line. For essentially, when we print these things in different lines, they will be in different lines, right? But using the AND argument, you can keep it as one line. Also, you can make a separation between those 2. So if you keep this one, then they'll just print out in one line. But if you put this one, and you will separate the items that's printed and put the space between items that's printed in different lines. So let's print them out and see how they're different. So here, 4 plus 7 is this, right? And we didn't put the space between line printed, so no space between. But 11 and dot here has a space, which is a default, right? But here we put space, so we have space here, right? Okay, so far we've tested out in the Visual Studio Code for what we've learned. Thank you for joining. I'll see you in the next chapter. Bye. All right. In this clip, we want to address the exercise problems in this chapter 1.3. Let's go over one by one. So first question is write a program that asks users for the current temperature in Fahrenheit and convert it to Celsius. Let me change the view. Wrap the word. Okay, convert it to the Celsius, right? And we're given a converter formula. Okay, so what we first need to do is get the input temperature from users and convert it to numbers. So we want to store it to temp in Fahrenheit is equal to, we're going to use eval function to convert it to number, right? And we're going to get the input from users, right? And we give the message current temp in Fahrenheit, right? And they'll put some temperature in Fahrenheit, and we need to convert it to Celsius, right? The temp in Celsius would be following the formula temp in Fahrenheit minus 32 and times 5/9, right? Okay, I missed the one parenthesis here. And we need to print out, let me just copy this one. Let me just copy this one and print current temperature in Celsius would be temp. Oops, it's variable, so we don't need to use that. And they'll put the space automatically, so let me remove this one because we don't want to have two spaces, right? And let's see. So save it and run it. So we're not debugging here, so run the Python file, run it. Okay, current temperature, let's say current temperature is 100 Fahrenheit. And the current temp in Celsius, they convert it, right? 37.777, right? Okay, this was the first question. Let me convert it to the comment, which is not executable. Let's move on to the next question. So write a program that asks us to enter the 3 different numbers and create a variable total sum and average value that compute the sum and average of 3 input numbers and then print the value of the total sum and average value, right? Okay, so just in case it's not too, sorry, let me just bring this back. So first we need to do is to get the 3 numbers. So number 1 is still we're gonna do math with it, so we need to convert it to numbers. So using the eval function and take the input number pick the first number, right? And we do this thing 2 more, number 2 and number 3, right? Second and the third. So we got the 3 numbers, and you need to create the variable total sum is equal to what, and also average value. Average value, right? Total sum would be summing of everything. So number 1 plus number 2 plus number 3. And average value would be total sum divided by the number of numbers, which we have 3 numbers divided by 3. And the print for 3 numbers num1, num2, num3 total sum is, okay, let me actually use next line and end function. And put the space. And here, sorry, it's not very clean. Total sum is what? Total sum. And then we do this again, right? And is equal to and the space. Now we do another print average of them. 3 numbers is f value, right? And let's do for number. Yeah. And save it. Let's print it up. First number, let's just put 1 to 3. 1, 2, 3. So total sum would be 6 and average would be 2, right? So for 3 numbers, 1 to 3, total sum is 6. Average of 3 number is 2.0. Right? That was for the second question. Let's move on to the last question. Print the box like one below. Okay. So how many we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have 10 this symbol. So 1 in the beginning and 1 in the end, and 8 space and 8 space, and do the same thing. So how I would do is print this times 10. I think we didn't go through the string chapter, letter chapter, but I think we've done it before. So let's use print is equal times 10 and print this again once, right? And we have 8 space, right? 8 space, so space times 8, right? And then we have more than one item, they're gonna put another space if, right? So, but which we don't want. So we say separation is nothing. And this will be copied here. Again, this will be copied again here, right? And save it. Let's run the code. Okay, that's exactly the same as the box that was in the question, right? Okay, these are the coding answers, one of the answers that I provide for the exercise questions. Feel free to solve it on your own and compare it to my code and see what's good and what's bad. Okay, thank you for joining. I'll see you in the next chapter. Thank you. Hi everyone, welcome back to Python Introduction, a practical course on Python basics. You're in chapter 1.3, printing of variables. Today, we're going to cover how to print in Python, how to define variables, and how to take inputs from users. Let's start with some vocabularies. Before we jump into coding, let me explain a few terms we'll see in Python. First, comments. Any line that starts with sharp is a comment. You will see them in green in most editors. Comments are not run by Python, they're just notes for a human to read. Variables. These are labels we use to store data. In many editors, we'll see them in blue. For example, in this line, name is equal to J, name is variable. Data, this is the actual content stored in variable. J in our example is a data. You might see them in orange. Functions. In Python, print is a function. It tells computer to do something. You will often see them highlighted in yellow. It's a built-in function, meaning Python already knows what it does. Notice space and case are very sensitive in Python coding, so they matter. Python is very picky about spelling and formatting. So here, print only in the little letters are completely different from print with the P in the cap or O in cap. Also, indentation, space at the beginning of the line also matters. If a line has extra space at the beginning when it's not expected, Python will throw an unexpected indent error. So we'll see it's different from here with the extra space in the beginning of the line. Then it returns an error, unexpected indent. Now let's get the inputs from the users. You can ask users to type something using the input function, which is another built-in function. So basic structure is like this. Variable name is equal to input of showing a message to users. So whatever the user types will be storing the text, which is a string in Python. If you want to store number and do the math, use the eval function, which is another built-in function to convert the input. So if you use the eval function after you get the input from the user, then you can convert the text to the number and store in number in this example. If you don't use it without the eval function, it'll still be a text. So if you print the 2 times of that number, if you use the eval function, then for this example, if the number is 7, then the output becomes 2 times 7, so 13 here. But if you don't use the eval function, so leave it as text, then the output 2 times of your number would be 7 instead of 17. All right, more on printings. You can actually print more than one thing at once, and they're gonna be separated by the commas in the arguments. And note that the spaces are gonna be inserted between items automatically by the built-in function print. So the output of these two lines would be 4 plus 7 is, and space, and which is 4 plus 7 is 11 here. Also, you see x is equal and 1, you will see space here, and 1 and y is equal, you will see another space here. So it'll be separated by the space. If you want to separate the item by something else, then you can use optional argument sep, SEP, or if you want to move to the next line, you can use a optional argument end. I'll show you in the Visual Studio Code. Variables, as I mentioned before, is a label or a box that stores a data value that you can use it later with the benefit with below. So variable is reusable, readable, and changeable, and that can store your user input or output. So for example, here, radius is equal to 5, and you want to compute the area based on the radius, then you can simply define it as 3.14, which is pi, times radius. And then you can print the area of the circle given the radius value, right? If you don't use a radius variable, then you need to print the 3.14 times 5 and 5, right? If you want to use a different radius to compute the area of the circle, then you need to change everything here, right? But easier to read and easier to compute again with the different radius values, right? If you write it this way, these two are the same, right? Also, the variable self is changeable. So in this line, you store 10 in score variable, and next line, you can update it by doing this. New score here is the previous score, the old score, which is 10 plus 5. So after this line, score now becomes 15, right? So print of that would be 15. Okay, I brought this example to understand how variable would work. So what are the values of x and y and z after this code is executed? First line, x is equal to 3. So x is 3, but y and z are not defined yet. So y and z are empty, right? So it's no value here. And next line, y is 10. So now x is 3 because we didn't change anything for x. Y is now 10 and z is nothing. In this line, z is equal to x times y. And x and y are the same as before. So x is 3, y is 10, and z is now become x times y, which is 3 times 10, so 30. So z, this is a new z in this line, is equal to z plus 5. So this one's using the old z, right? The current z value, so which is 30, right? So 30 plus 5 is 35. While x and g are remaining the same. So x is 3, y is 10, z is 35. Now here, we're changing x. So we're store the new value in x using the y plus y, the current y plus y. So current y is 10 if you look at the previous line. So 10 plus 5 is 15. So now x becomes 15, not 3 anymore. Y is 10 and z is 35 because y and z hasn't changed here in this line. In the last line, y is 3, and then we didn't touch x and z. So x and z are 15, 35, and now y is 3. So using this kind of sequence, we can change variable, and we can store a new value, and we can keep those values. Here are some exercises you can practice with the content you've learned from this class. So there are 3 questions you can try to solve based on how to print, how to define variable, and how to take inputs from the users. I'll leave it up for you all. So next chapter, we're gonna study the data types, including numbers, booleans, and strings. Thank you for joining. I'll see you in the next chapter. Bye. All right, this time let's try to solve the exercises from the chapter 2.1. We have 2 problems. Let's try to solve the first one first. I'll write a program that asks the users to enter a number. First, tell the users whether the number is even or odd, and print its square root if it's even. Otherwise, print its factorial, right? First, we need to get the input from the user, and as we learned that whatever user input that would be stored in as a text, we have to convert it to number, right? Let's do that. And let's say number, user number, right? Would be, we want to convert whatever text to the numbers. Eval of input of number, right? Enter a number. And this part would give you the text user input, and then we convert it to the number, right? And we want to check whether it's even or not, even or odd, right? So I think as we learn the math operator, we can use the modulo operator that can give us a remainder of that division operator, right? So we can do remainder. I'm going to use this variable would be user num modulo 2. So this will give us this gives the remainder, which is either 0 or 1, right? Let's do the common loop. Get the user input and convert to the number, right? And we haven't learned the if statement here. Well, let's just use it for now. So if remainder is equal to 1, right? Then print. So remainder 1 is equal to 1 means is odd number. So we want to print out is factorial, right? So print, we need to use math operator. See here, if we didn't import the math module, so it says the yellow line here, right? Math is not defined. So we need to import math here, and now it's green. So it's this Python file, the VS Code recognizes the module from the module, right? math dot factorial of this user now. We have else here, but let's use just if remainder is now is the same, right? This is the same operator. This will tell us if whether left and right are the same or not. If it's same, returns true, not false, right? Which we will learn in the chapter 2.2. Sorry, I think the questions cover a lot of materials. You can revisit again this question again once you learn the booleans, also the other statement as well. 0, then print math dot what do you want? Square root, right? Square root of user now. Sorry, of user now. Right. Okay. Let's try 4. So if it's 4, right? And this becomes 4 divided by 2 would be remainder is 0. So 0 would be stored. So this will skip this, and 0 is true, right? So it goes into here. Print the square root of 2 would be 4 would be 2. So we would expect 2, right? So let's run it. Run the code. Let's put the 4 here. This will give us 2, right? What about we put, let's say this is 3 odd number, right? So now it's remainders 1 here. And this 1 go here, but this go here. And print the mass factorial. You know the factorial would be 3 times 2 times 1. So it gives us 6, right? Let's double check. Let's run the code. Now it's 3. Yeah, it returns 6, right? Okay, let's move on to the next question. So next question is write a random quiz generator. First, randomly generate the 2 numbers with 1 operator. All right, the second question in the exercise, write a random quiz generator. First, randomly generate the 2 numbers with 1 operator. For example, what is the 3 to the 4? Ask the user for the answer and tell if the answer is correct or not, right? So we have to first generate the 2 random numbers, right? Random generate 2 numbers. So I would do num1, num2. And num1 is random dot rand. Okay, you see the yellow underline again, right? So we have to import the module random here, and now it's green, which knows this VS Code understand this is the module, right? And the rand, I'm gonna use random integer. Gets a random number from 1 to just for easy 5. I'll do the same for random 2, num2, and okay, random num2 should be, well, let me use a different range, 3 for example, and let's pick an operator as well. Okay, we just followed the question, so operator would be exponents, this, right? And then let's do first print out this one so that user can see that. Print what is plus thing num plus this. Oh, sorry. We learned this num1 operator num2, right? And we had let's say separate is nothing. We don't separate it, right? And add here. and we need another quote here, so backslash this. We print this one and get the user input from them. Sorry, print out. I clicked it incorrectly. Let's clear up. Clear up. Sorry, I think I'm in the Python mode. Python mode. Okay, so I'm gonna print out what is the what is number. So if we do it, what is number one, operator number two, and we don't separate out, then it's gonna be one part, right? And we get the user answer, right? User answer would be, we need to convert the numbers eval and the print your answer, this, right? And they will print out the answer, and in text it'll be converted to the number, right? And we get the answer, and then we need to define the correct answer as well, right? We define it here. The correct is fine. The correct answer would be, we know that num1 exponent num2, right? And let's use simple if again. So if user, okay, let's do it user answer so that it's not confusing. So user answer is the same as correct answer, right? And the print correct. Now this time we used else, which means if this is not the case, we'll fall into this. We'll learn all about it in the next chapters. Okay, don't worry about it. This is just, I just want you to be exposed to this kind of statement in the formula grammar syntax first before we get into the actual if statement. So this is just the just learning material. So just you don't need to understand everything at once right now. So if it's not the case, if user and correct are not the same, the print incorrect, and should we give them back the answer? No, right? You can just incorrect and that's it. Oh, what about this? Correct answer is what? Correct answer, right? So we know that. Let's see how. Let's really solve it. So let's run this code. Okay, we have error here. So eval or arg1 must be a string, our code, right? Eval here, oh, not print, is input, right? My bad. I save it, run it again. So let's clear. No, it's fine. Okay, what is 4 to the 2? Then we know there's 16. Let's type in 16 here. Correct, right? Let's do another quiz. Here there was 2 to the 2. We know that the answer should be 4. Let's type 5 this time. And the answer should be, the what's gonna be printed out is incorrect, comma, correct answer is 4, right? Incorrect, correct answer is 4. Okay, this is a question answer, solution for question 2. Feel free to solve these questions on your own and try to compare your solution to mine. Don't worry that some things are related to what you have learned so far. Don't worry, you can just copy whatever I do, but practice the part you've learned, right? And then these are simple, so you just I just want you to be familiar with how it looks like, so you get used to it when you want to use it later, right? So thank you for listening. I'll see you in the next chapter. Bye.
Hi everyone, welcome back to Python Introduction, a practical course on Python basics. You're in chapter 2.1, Python data types, numbers. In this chapter, we're going to learn the main number types in Python. In Python, we work with the three main types of numbers. First, integer. These numbers are whole numbers like 5, -3, zeros. Second, floating point numbers. These are numbers with decimals like 3.14 or -2.718. Python supports up to about 15 digits of precision. Lastly, random numbers. These are generated using Python's built-in random model. So here are some examples how we use the random numbers. First, to generate the random numbers, we first need to import the model, import random. And there are, I'm sharing three examples that how we can use the random numbers. First, random.randint, here 1, 10. This one will give you a random number, random integer between 1 and 10, including both. Second, random.random. This will give you a random float number between 0 and 1. Lastly, random.uniform 1.5, 5.5. This will give you the random float number between 1.5 and 5.5. There are other math operators that you can use and functions you can use to handle the numbers. It includes simple operators like addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. And also it covers some useful functions as operators, exponentiation, integer division, and modulo. So exponential, for example, using the 2 stars, 5, exponential 2 is 5 to the 2, which is 25. Integer division will give you the integer when you divide it by some number. So 5 is 2 times 2 plus 1. So integer division will give you 2 as an output. And modulo will give it the remainder. So 5 is 2 times 2 plus 1. So 5 modulo 2 will become 1. And the other operation would be first, Python will compute the exponents first, and then they compute the multiplication, divisions, modulo, and then they move on to the addition, subtraction. And there are other functions that you can use using the math module. So you first need to import the math module, and then you can use other functions like trigonometry, exponential log, factorial, and square root or rounding. So you can actually handle the numbers with math functions and operators. Here are some examples, exercises that you can try based on what you learned in this chapter. Thank you for listening. And in the next chapter, we're going to learn booleans and strings. Thank you. Bye. Hi, everyone. All right. Let's use the VS Code to try to test out what we've learned in the actual code. So in the chapter 2.2, we've learned the data type, Boolean. So we want to test out how it works out in the VS Code actually, right? So we use a Boolean to test out, to make the decisions and to control the flow, right? So, for example, this is a great example. You get the age, for example, let's say this is the number you get from the user's age, and then whether the program tells you whether you can drink or not, right? And if the age is greater or equal to 21, it will print out you can drink. So this part, age is greater or equal than 21, will give you the true or false. So that whether you can print out that you can drink or not, right? So in this part, you can use the booleans. So let's do this. Print ag is greater than 21. And this will print out like true, false, right? and this will make decision whether you print out you can drink or not, right? So also you can use else. You can print out you can not drink, right? So this part, true or false, would decide you whether you will print out you can drink or you can't drink, right? So similar to that, we've learned the operators, logic operators comparison. So this double equal would tell true or false if both sides are the same or not, right? So 5 is 5. So this will return true, right? And the same, this will return true if both sides are not the same. If they're the same, they return false because this operator is false, right? If you hover it here, then 5 is not equal to 3, which is true for this operator, so true, right? What about this? So you can just read it naturally. 5 is less than 6, which is true, right? So true. So 5 is greater than 10, which is not true, so false, right? You can use this true and false to make decisions or to control the flow, right? What about this? So AND operator will be true if both are true. Not is just flip the false to true, the Boolean type, right? And OR is true if either is true, right? True or false would return true, or false or true also return true, but false or false will return false, right? So here, and 7 is not equal to 3, true. 4 is greater than 1, true. So true and true, so true, right? So this and is returns true when both are true only, right? 7 equals 7, which is true, but not, which is flipping the true or false, right? So false. What about this? 7 equal to 6, false, right? Because they're not the same. 6 is greater than 8, false as well. So false or false. It's not true at all, so it becomes false, right? So it'll print out here. So this is, we know this is false, so it'll be here else, right? So it'll print out you cannot drink, and false, true, 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 false, true, false, false. Let's see if we're correct. I'll print it out. Let's see. You cannot drink. False, true, 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 false. False, true, 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 false. True, false, false. True, false, false. Okay. Let's move on to the exercise. Okay, the first question we had was, what does this print code? X is 10, Y is 20. Now it's a simple question, right? 10 is greater than 20, which is what? Which is false, right? Because 10 is not greater than 20. Or X is equal to 10, right? So true. So second one is true. So an OR operation returns true when any of them are true, right? Either of them is true, right? This will return true. Okay, the second question is, write a program that functions like the Fitness app. The program should tell the users if the user can run outside or not, right? So users only run if it's not raining and temp is at least 59 Fahrenheit. Obtain a current weather status from your user and print the evaluate Boolean expression based on it, right? Okay. So we want user to provide us with two information, right? First, whether it's raining or not. Second, what is the temperature, right? Let's get two information from the users and we can return whether they can run or not, right? So first, we ask them, and rain is raining, right? Is raining? True or not, right? So it's raining, we can get information from that. And first we print, show them is it raining outside? Yes. Please answer yes or no, right? Is raining would be input of user, right? Also, we get we print what is the temperature, and then we get the current temp from users, right? But we want to keep it as a number, so eval of this number. So if you look at the statement again, only if not raining and temperature at least 59, right? Temperature in Fahrenheit. So is raining should be true, right? So it should be true. Not true, right? It should be false, right? It should be false. And is temp good, right? Is current temp is greater than 59, right? Right? And if both are true, then we can run, right? Both are not. So let's say run and okay. And is rain. We get the answer from there, yes or no, right? Rain or not. And is raining, we save this one is if rain is no rain, because that's what we want, right? Is no rain, rain or not is equal to no, right? But we have to make sure sometimes they put no. If it's no, then we store true, right? No raining, true. No raining is true, or is temperature is true and temperature is true. Temperature is true, then they can run, right? If this is satisfied, then we can give them, we can print that you can run, right? And if just at least one of them are broken, not met, then you can say you can not run, right? Does it look correct? Oh, so we first get with printout, we show them this, answer yes or no, and they'll answer rain or not, right? It's gonna be either yes or either no, right? We just save no rain, right? So if it's rain, no rain is good, right? No rain, it will save true, right? And we also get the number, the temperature, and if temp good, and we store it as yes, right? And both are met, both are true, then we can say you can run. If it's not, you can't run, right? Then we test it out. So let's clear the board. Terminal output, run the code. Okay, this is true as we expected, right? Is it raining outside, yes or no? So let's say it's raining, okay? Then whichever temperature it should return you can't run because it's raining already, right? Let's say temperature is like 90.
you cannot run because it's not satisfied, right? Let's run it again. Now we put, okay, it's not rainy. What about temperature is 50? Then it's not raining outside, but temperature is too low. So it should return, you can't run, right? You cannot run, right? Let's run it again. Okay, now no rain outside, right? And temperature is good, so 75. And you should return, you can run, right? Yeah, this is a solution to this question. So feel free to revisit this question and feel free to solve it on your own and compare it to my answer. Thank you for listening. I'll see you in the next chapter. Bye. Hi everyone. Welcome back to Python Introduction, a practical course on Python basics. We're in chapter 2.2, Python data types, booleans. What is a boolean? It's a data type that can only have one of two values, true or false. We use booleans when we want to make decisions in our code, like checking conditions, comparisons, or using logical rules. We have comparison operators and logical operators to make decisions and checking our conditions. So these are expressions: two equal signs, this, less than, greater, equal. So this is true when both are equal to each other. So 5 equals 5. So this expression will return true. On the other hand, 5 is not equal to 3, so it's false. This symbol is true when both are not equal. So 5 is not equal to 3, so it becomes true. But 5 is actually equal to 5, so this will return false. And here, similarly, 4 is actually less than 6, so this one is true, so returning true. On the other hand, 7 is actually less than 10, not greater or equal to 10, so it's false. We also have logical operators, and or not. And will return true when both are true. So true and false, we include false here, this will return false. When it was true and true, it is true. And false, it becomes false. Because none of them is true. Both should be true, right? True or false. So this will return true when at least one is true. So true or false or true will return true. But false or false will return false because there's no true. And true or true will, of course, return true. Not operator will return the flipped results. So not true will return false, not false will return true. So we use comparison logic operators to make decisions in our code, whether these comparison logics are true or false. Here are some exercises you can try based on what you've learned in this chapter. Thank you for listening. I'll see you in the next chapter. We're going to learn more about data types, specifically stream. Thank you.